Hello, welcome back to Sharks Happen. On today's episode, we are going to go over attacks on a couple of surfers, attacks on a couple swimmers, one person just standing in the water, and at the end of the show, we're going to go over a few miscellaneous things about sharks, so I hope you stick around. It's going to be a great show. Okay, we're going to start off their show. We're going to go over to Parris Island, which is in South Carolina, and the date on this attack is sometime in August of 1960. An unknown gentleman, he was going AWOL. He was going to swim himself to freedom from Parris Island from his unit. He was in the services here in the United States, and he had fled swimming, trying to swim to shore. And it's reported that he was devoured by a shark. He was killed by a shark when he was swimming to try to get to the mainland. Another young man that was in Parris Island had reported to his mother that he had gone AWOL. This kid also went AWOL. So two people go AWOL. This one swam for safety and ended up devoured by a shark. But this other kid that went AWOL wrote to his mother, told her about the shark that ended up taking his friend, and explained that the reason why he was leaving and going away, that he himself wasn't, I guess, abused by the military personnel, but he claimed that one gentleman, one recruit, had his fingers busted when he was kicked by a non-commissioned officer. Another one of the kids had his teeth knocked out being hit by one of the metal helmets, so hit in the face with the helmet, he claims, and so he ended up fleeing, worrying that this stuff was going to happen to him. And I don't know if anything ended up happening to the kid that fled and swam and ended up being devoured by the shark. He didn't make any claims that anything had happened to him specifically. So all we know is that an unknown recruit that was in basic training went to swim and go AWOL. He ends up eaten by a shark. Happened in Parris Island over in South Carolina in 1960, and that's all we have. It's an attack. No predation. We don't know what size shark, and we don't have the victim's name, but we'll put it all in there under unknown. Okay, now we're going to head over to Seagirt, and that is in New Jersey, and the date on this is August 21st of 1960. John Brodeur, he is 24 years old, and he is visiting his fiance. The two go into the water and go swimming. I don't know the time of day, but he's only 25 yards from shore in knee-deep water, and him and his fiance are standing in the water, and they see a shark come in on a wave. So a wave is bringing a shark in. And I don't know that the two of them turned and ran, but the wave comes in, the shark comes in, and all of a sudden John says, "I've been bitten." The girlfriend, while John makes his way into shore, the girlfriend is splashing and flailing, chases the shark off. So the shark leaves, John gets to shore, and bystanders put a tourniquet on his thigh. His thigh was bitten, and also his calf was bitten. It had to be at least two bites. The thigh was pretty badly bitten, but it sounds like the calf got the worst of it, to where there was a chip in one of the bones. Another bone was scraped by the teeth, and in the back it sounds like there was a flap of skin. You know, it involved the muscle, so it flapped the whole leg out on the calf. So he had the thigh and the calf, and he goes in, and this involved arteries, it involved everything, and he gets in. It's 1960, so they go ahead and they work on him, and it's about a week after he has his surgery, and he gets an infection, and they end up having to amputate his leg. They don't know for sure what kind of shark they had assumed that it was a tiger shark, but you're talking New Jersey. That's awful cold water for a tiger shark. I don't think that's a tiger shark. That's got to be a bull or a great white, one of the two. I think a tiger's out of the question in New Jersey. If it was further down the coast, you know, maybe South Carolina, maybe you'd get a tiger shark in there, but not up in New Jersey. So like I said, this is 1960. I don't know if anybody really looked into that to even think about whether even a tiger shark would be in that cold of water. So that's an attack on John Brodeur. An attack, I don't know that it's an attempt to predate. I would say that it's not. It didn't remove flesh. It doesn't say that it removed any flesh. It just sounds like a couple of horrific bites and probably shaking involved. And I would say that it's definitely a shark big enough for our stats. We just don't know what kind. I would say a great white or a tiger, a great white or a bull. But without that information, and they didn't get any teeth out of it that they have mentioned, so we're going to have to go down with attack, not an attempt to predate by a large shark. We just don't know what size. Okay, now we're going to head over to North Beach, that is in Australia. The date on this attack is February 4th of 2019. Matt Gallagher, he is 50 years old and he is out doing some surfing. It's about 6:15 in the morning and he's sitting about 200 meters from shore, 220 yards. And like I said, 6:15 in the morning, he's sitting there and he says that his board is slammed from underneath. And he says that the shark hit the board with the bottom jaw on the board and knocked him flying before it could clamp down. So again, another one where the guy is lucky to be knocked off the board before the shark could clamp down. So he says he knew right when he hit the water exactly what had happened. So he scrambled his way back up onto his board. And he says being 200 meters out, he's like, you know, I just gotta, I guess, stand my ground and fight this thing if it comes back. He says sure enough it came back. He says he could see it coming fin up. So the fin's up out of the water and it's coming straight at him. And then the fin disappeared under the water. He's looking around wondering where it was. He says it came up the left side of him, and he says it didn't use its teeth, it just rammed into the board, just rammed the board and disappeared again. So now he's laying there and he says it comes from the right side underneath the board and it does the same thing, just comes underneath and rams the board again. He says this time he flipped himself over, legs up, which, you know, you're laying down, so he's got his legs sticking up in the air so that they're not being able to be bitten. And he says he sprinted his way back to shore, so paddling as fast as he could to get back to shore. Luckily he wasn't injured at all in this attack, even though the shark made 3 runs at him. Got the board the first time, came close to getting him that time, and then came back at him 2 other times, but seemed to just ram the board instead of trying to take a bite on it like it did the first time. So he wasn't sure what kind of shark, but by pictures of the board and the teeth marks, they think this was a juvenile to adult bull shark or a great white. So probably a juvenile if it's a great white, or an adult if it's a bull shark, I would think. So it will go down in our stats as an attack, not an attempt to predate. No injury to Matt Gallagher, and we just aren't sure what size and what kind of shark. Most likely, I would say juvenile great white. And we're going to head over to Saltwater Beach. That is over in Australia. The date, May 3rd of 2015. Bruce Lucas, he is 47 years old and he is out doing himself some surfing. It's about 3:15 in the afternoon and he is paddling. And he's about 60 meters from shore, so about 70 yards from shore. And he's in the process of paddling. And he doesn't know what happened because all of a sudden he's starting to be spun around. Him and the board are being turned. And he's like, well, why am I being turned like this? He can't understand what is going on. And in this process, he says he looks up at the front of the board and a shark's got his arm. Shark's got his arm and he can see the nose and the teeth on the front of the board. So as he's paddling, he gets his arm, sounds like clamped along with the board by the shark, and he says he just started hitting it and it let go and went under the water. He grabbed and turned around and started making his way in. He said keeping an eye over his shoulder to make sure that it's not coming back at him, and yelling shark to everybody so that they get up out of the water. He gets in, it doesn't sound like there was much shaking. He didn't even know that the shark had him by the arm. This is one of those crazy ones where you got shark teeth in your body and you're being spun around on the board and he doesn't know what's going on. And to look up and see that, that it's a shark head that's got a hold of your arm, and you didn't even know you were being bitten. It's just a crazy thing about this attack. At first they were suspecting a bull shark was involved. But again, after experts looked at the photos of his injuries, they assumed this was a great white shark. Just don't know what size. So Bruce Lucas gets out with, you know, injury to his left arm. Doesn't sound like any tendons, any arteries, any major damage. I think he just had to get sutured up. Luckily, after being spun around on his board by a shark, we're just not sure of what kind of shark. So an attack, not an attempt to predate. Don't know what kind of shark. Okay, we're going to finish off our attacks for the show. We're going to head over to Isabella Island. That's part of the Galapagos Islands. And the date on this attack is November 20th of 2015. Graham Hurley, he is 55 years old. He is out doing some snorkeling, and he is with 11 others. So there's 11 people out doing snorkeling. They're very close to shore. They're 15 yards from shore, and they're in 15 feet from shore, just over 5 meters from shore, and they're in 5-meter deep water. So it gets deep quick. They're in 15 feet deep water, 15 feet from shore. And like I said, they're all at the surface, and at the seafloor, they notice a shark. A shark shows up. And they said at first it was just lazily swimming, and then it just came up at Graham and grabbed onto his swim fin and pulled him vertically in the water. So he was laying on top of the water. The shark came up, grabbed his swim fin, and tugged down so that he was standing straight up and down in the water. He says then the shark had retreated, went down to the seafloor. He says right when it got down there, it turned around and came back and bit him in the calf. And then it went on its way. I said it was a very quick situation. Sounds a lot like the Brothers Island attack, to where the shark went at the guy, I think a couple times, got a hold of his thigh, and then just took off thigh or calf in that situation. But they got a hold of Graham Hurley's calf, and they get him up. Doesn't sound like there was any shaking. There was no nerve damage. It sounds like just a couple of rows of teeth in his calf. And he had thought that it was a bull shark that got a hold of him, but there was another gentleman that was there that witnessed the attack, and he said that the shark he thought was a Galapagos shark. And I think you'd be able to tell Galapagos sharks, that dorsal fin sits way forward on the shark's body compared to a bull shark. So it'd be pretty easy to tell, if you know sharks, a Galapagos shark from a bull shark just by looking at that dorsal fin. Just one fin, you look at that and it just doesn't look centered like it should be on a shark. Not centered, but where it should be on a shark. It looks further up on a Galapagos. And I do believe they have an extra dorsal in the back too. So they have a main dorsal, they have a little dorsal back by their tail fin. So they have double dorsals, if I'm remembering correctly. But that's the attack on Graham Hurley. An attack, not an attempt to predate. We'll put this down as a Galapagos shark. It's probably well within that 6 feet or over that we need. So that's the attack, and we'll move on and get done with the end of the show. Okay, now that we're done with the attacks for the show, I just wanted to mention that went through the O-Search app again. JP or whatever his name is, the hammerhead, he's still down in Florida, down by the Keys, I do believe it is, by the tip of the Keys. And then there's also another turtle. Now there was a sea turtle that was tagged back when I was going down to the Keys about 2 years ago. And it was tagged for maybe a month or two. I was following it and then it disappeared. I didn't know whether it got eaten or not. This is a different turtle. This is a loggerhead turtle, just over 3 feet long. 250-pound turtle though. That's a heavy turtle. So that's also sitting there off the east coast of the United States. There's only one great white pinging that's close to shore anywhere, and it's a little bit up from Myrtle Beach, Sunset Beach. Can't remember what the name of the beach is, but there's another beach over there next to Myrtle Beach. There's a great white, just over 12-footer. Ulysses, I think his name is, and he's sitting off the shore, maybe a couple of miles offshore. He's the closest one to shore. that's pinging. And again, there is nothing over in Australia. So it makes me think that they stopped using their receivers to even pick up where the sharks are pinging over there, because there's no way the sharks aren't pinging over there for the last, I would say at least 6 months. It's been since I saw anything ping over in Australia, which is a bummer. I hope they get back to that. So that's that information. Now, the thing I wanted to get into about the sharks is my shark attack book here. The one with the, I guess it's a whaler on the cover. This has a couple Cornwall sharks. You know, you don't have a lot of Cornwall attacks. We had the one story of the captain that, you know, went ahead and blew himself up, trying to blow up probably a basking shark, I would think. Either that or a whale shark. I don't think that they would have a great white over there that was tormenting boats. I think that a basking shark or a whale shark was bashing boats over there. But we will go over a great white that holed a boat and sank it in an upcoming episode pretty quickly here. But first of all, a porbeagle. I wish it was a better view of it, because I wanted to see how close to the, what is his name? The goofy looking salmon shark. Because this looks a little bit different than a salmon shark in this picture, but it's a big one. You can see the guy standing there, and you can see this porbeagle here, and it's a good 10 feet. What size is that? Well, 384 pounder was caught in 1960. So that one was caught in Cornwall. And then the crazy one is this mako shark. This is the largest shark ever caught in England's waters, British waters, and it's off Cornwall, and it's a 61-year-old grandma that caught the thing. Her name is Joyce Yallop, and she caught it near Eddystone Lighthouse. If anybody's familiar with that, maybe I'll go ahead and pop a little clip in where that is. But she caught that shark, that largest shark out of British waters, was taken by this woman, Joyce Yallop. 61 years old, which is funny, and she kind of reminds me of my grandma, my dad's mom. You know, she was big into fishing and taught me quite a bit about fishing along with my dad. So that's the couple stories I wanted to bring up about those things. We're going to get back into the stats again real soon. I think I have another 150 or so to put into it'll put me pretty close to 1,000 attacks we've gone over. We'll get the stats updated. We'll find out where everything stands. So that's the show for today. I hope you'll be back in a few more days for another show of attacks. But until then, if you go into that water, you are much more afraid of those sharks than they are of you.